I'm out the bad guy for defending my fiancé after my sister told her off, and for wanting an apology. I've just proposed to my girlfriend of 1 year, Megan. She had a dust up with my sister, and when I defended her, my sister went off on me too and told me off. Megan is really into skincare. She posts on all the skincare subreddits and other internet forums. I can't even count the amount of skincare stuff she has, but she looks great, so she's doing something right. She has a morning routine and a bedtime routine. She says they aren't complicated to me, but I'm a guy. My skincare is washing my face in the shower and also before bed if I remember. I can't follow what Megan does, but it makes her happy, so I support it. Megan has tried to bond with Rosine over skincare, but it's not working. According to Megan, Rosine's skin is lots of 1. Sleep, 2. Water, 3. Sunscreen, and no. 1. Smoking, 2. Tanning, 3. Makeup, Eva. Megan was a bit shocked when Rosie said that. She said that no routine at all. Then no makeup, even at her wedding also threw Megan for a loop, but it's more about the skin for her. I honestly never thought about it before I met Megan. For Rosine's birthday, Megan and me gave her a gift card to a store called Sephora because they have a bunch of skincare stuff. We just found out it's still unused almost a year later. Twice, Megan has left and dropped off a bag or basket of skincare products with a list of steps, and they're just gathering dust in Rosine's bathrooms. When Megan saw the first bag unused, when we were visiting Rosine's, she tried it again and left some stuff for Rosine. This led to Rosine telling Megan to shut up about skincare and selling her off. I defended Megan because she was just trying to do something nice, and Rosine was unasked to her. Rosine told me to off too. Megan said the first couple of times she met Rosine, she listened to me when Megan told me about skincare. Rosine also bought Megan some of her favorite stuff after stalking her social media. Rosine doesn't even have social media. Megan was trying to do something nice for Rosine. Rosine said Megan can take a hint. Rosine was also mad because Megan didn't talk to my dad, my brother, brother-in-law, or either of my grandfathers about skincare. Just her, the only woman in my family. But they're like me and Megan knows that. Rosine won't even talk to Megan now. She told me off to, and Megan was just trying to do something nice. Rosine is 38, and Megan says women can afford to be lax about skincare as they get older. This applies to Megan too, which is why she takes such good care of her skin. I want Rosine to apologize for telling Megan off, but she says I'm dreaming and my dad and brother are trying to get me to forget it. I'm at 35. Megan is 34, and Rosie is 38, if it makes any difference. So what do you think? I'm the bad guy for being upset my wedding was ended an hour early. My side of the family is chronic drug users and alcoholics, just the way it is. My husband's family is religious. Handful of them abstain from alcohol, and the ones that partake do so seldomly. They also have a bunch of young kids and babies. We decided against having a bar and made it abundantly clear it will be dry wedding well in advance. I begged, I pleaded, I bargained, and even promised to buy them alcohol after the wedding if they could please just give me those 7 hours sober enough to be proper functioning. My family response was to bring bottles of whiskey and bring it throughout the day. Most of them actually show up drunk and were visibly intoxicated during the ceremony. Tons of my photos have these stupid bright red cups, including pics of my family, passing it around during our woes. Here's when I'm really salty. About an hour before end of wedding, our photographers ask us to do some nighttime shots. My mom interrupts a few minutes in and says my entire side of the family is leaving because they are tired, and that it doesn't matter because wedding is over anyway. I said, But what about the big exit? You guys will miss it? She says, oh, I will take care of it, and leaves before I can say another word. My planner comes over a few minutes later to say that my mom let staff and the guests know that the wedding was over and ask if that's what I wanted. My family has staff in hand making their way out. My husband's family is looking very confused, but gathering their things, I give up. Yeah, let's just end the wedding. My husband sees I'm upset and tells planner to announce to everyone we are doing the exit now and to get it ready. My family leaves anyway. My husband's family stays and does the exit with us. I went on my honeymoon, had a great time. Called my mom when I got back to say it hurt my feelings, especially that they didn't even say bye. She says I'm being ridiculous and dramatic. Wedding was already over anyways, and that it's not her fault people were leaving, that I should just get over it. So am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for asking a friend if she was happy about being pregnant? I've been friends with Molly for 12 years. For the entire time I have known her, Molly has never liked kids. She and I have had conversations in the past about how neither of us wanted kids. I get that people can change their mind, but our most recent discussions of this was like 3 months ago, when I told her that my sister was having another baby. Her actual response to the news was, ew, why would she want to begin with? That was essentially her attitude to children up until recently. Around 3 weeks ago, she sent me a text that just said I'm pregnant. No warning before I had. No greeting like, hey, I have big news, or even an emoji to convey how she felt. Very direct. I don't know if it was a panic I'm pregnant and maybe needed support, which has happened in the past. So I asked how she felt about that. She replied after a while with, happy, obviously. Me and Mark, her boyfriend, are only telling close family in France. I was a bit shocked, but congratulated her anyhow, and said I will take her out to lunch to celebrate. Well, we met up for lunch this week, and unfortunately Mark couldn't come, but another friend of hers, Emma, came instead. Emma and I aren't that close. Molly only sent a text like 10 minutes before we met that Emma was coming too. I didn't mind, but throughout the whole lunch sometimes seemed off about them, especially Molly. Like they kept sort of exchanging looks right in front of me and were showing each other things on the phone without showing me, which I don't really care about, but it felt very middle school catty. And talking a lot about things that I either don't know about or wasn't there for. I was kind of glad when the lunch was coming to end, but Molly went to the bathroom before we left, and it was just me and Emma sitting on the table. Like I said, we're not that close, but I tried to make some small talk about how exciting it was that Molly was having a baby and that she seems delighted. Emma then replied, well, obviously she is. Now that you will know. And I was just dumbfounded. Asked what she meant, and she laughed into a rant about how rude it was that I asked how Molly felt about the pregnancy, and that Molly was kind of pissed at me for it. I confronted Molly when she came back to the table, and she just kind of shrugged it. I don't want to get into it in front of Emma, so I apologized, but then told Molly that I would have appreciated her comment to me first if I had upset her. She sarcastically said, why else would I text you something like that if I wasn't happy? I reminded her that she has repeatedly told me how she dislikes kids, and she said, obviously not my own. Even though we both discussed never wanting kids, and reminded her what she said when I told her about my sister's pregnancy 3 months before. I left quickly after that and have been thinking about it non-stop since. So, am I the bad guy asking if she was happy about being pregnant? What do you think? Am I the bad guy for not wanting my mother to be around my daughter? I recently become a mother to a beautiful baby girl. My mother has always been a difficult person to be around. She has a history of being verbally abusive towards me and my siblings, and has a tendency to become very angry over small things. Since having my daughter, I've been hesitant to let my mother around her. I don't want my daughter to be exposed to that kind of behavior. However, my mother has been pressuring me to let her see the baby. She said that she wants to be a part of her granddaughter's life and that she promised to be on her best behavior. Last week, my mother came over unannounced and demanded to see the baby. I told her that I wasn't comfortable with her holding her, but my mother became very angry and started yelling at me. She called me a terrible mother and said that I was keeping her granddaughters away from her. At this point, I lost my temper and told her that I didn't want her around my daughter at all. I reminded her of the way she had treated me and my siblings growing up, and how I didn't want my daughter to be exposed to that kind of behavior. Now my mother is telling everyone in our family that I'm keeping her granddaughter away from her and that I'm being unreasonable. I know that my daughter deserves to have a relationship with her grandmother, but I can't bring myself to let her be around such a toxic person. So I'm the bad guy for not wanting my mother to see my daughter. Am I the bad guy for letting my husband kick my brother-in-law out of my parents' house? This happened over a year ago, but this situation has still affected my family and my mom won't stop getting an our case even now. My father has diabetes and his health was deteriorating fast. He was in the hospital and then got out. After he got out, he was weak and was trying to rest at home. I come from a big family with a lot of siblings. One of my sisters travels out through Europe and is frequently moving. I'm in the US and I haven't been back to Europe in over a decade, but talk a lot on the phone with them. We will call my sister Anna. Anna decided to move in my parents' house all of a sudden with her husband and 8 children for an unknown period of time, and for reasons no one knows. She had nowhere else to go apparently. My mom is the closest with her and always sympathetic towards her, so she's fine with her being there. My dad was exhausted at this point coming home from the hospital just a day or 2 ago. My husband was talking to him on the phone and heard all those kids screaming and making noises. He asked, "Is everything okay?" My father just said he's tired, overwhelmed, and can't really take it anymore and just wants to rest. My dad talks to my brother who lives there and says how is the environment in the house. My brother said it's disaster and pretty noisy since the kids are running everywhere. My mom, however, said that it's not a big deal and not that noisy. We're all Christian, and me and my husband and some siblings just had a feeling my dad was going to die any day now, and these were his last moments alive. Me and my husband felt bad for my dad and thought he deserves peace in his last moments. My husband asked to speak to my mother and she said no, not now. So my husband asked to speak to Anna's husband. He said, "If you don't leave this house by 7 p.m., then I will pay for a rental home where he can rest his final days." It's not okay for this man to work all his life and he can even die in peace in his own home. I'll be called back to make sure you have left. They tried to talk back and downplay everything, but my husband really put his foot down. And ultimately, they left. After about 2 days, my father had to go back into the hospital and died. To this day, my mother is super upset with me and my husband that he kicked Anna and her family out. She still comments to my husband and asks that we were really out of line and rude. I do want to add Anna is still building a new home near my parents' house, so they do have some money. So, are we the big guys here? I'm the bad guy for upsetting my wife on our son's birthday. So my son's birthday was yesterday. A few weeks before his birthday, he and my wife got into an argument over something really petty, if I'm being honest. This happens a lot. She will find the smallest thing to complain to him about. But due to this argument, she refused to plan anything for his birthday. So I started to plan it. Now, before anyone thinks I went and planned a massive party, by plan I mean get him some presents, a cake, and make sure we have money for takeout that night. This is what we have done for a while, as he stopped wanting parties after 15, and even before that his birthday parties were really just small gatherings with a handful of friends. Now I'm going to be honest here. I don't know much about my son's interests. I know what he's into, but not enough information about specifics to get him anything. But I do know the person that knows him better than anyone is his best friend, who I'll call Alice. So I called Alice and asked her about what kind of things my son would like as a present. She was immediately able to help me. I know my son loves K-pop, but she was able to show me what albums he would like and ended up getting him one that released very recently. Actually, I had to pre-order it after we had a phone call from his favorite group, as well as do small picture cards of his favorite member. The conversation somehow else ended up at the cakes, and she was also able to help me with what kind of cake is his favorite and what things to avoid, like buttercream, as it makes him feel ill, and I got everything sorted. His birthday came in and I made him and everyone breakfast before work. And when I got back, we opened presents, ordered food, and did the cake. When I say we, I mean me, my son, my daughter, and my mother-in-law who live with us. My wife seems upset and did not join us. She came down to get some food and some cake and take it out to her room to eat. When I went to bed, I asked her what was up, and she said she felt like I was trying to upstage her, and that our son favors me anyway, and I'm not helping. She knows that neither of us know enough about K-pop to have gotten him stuff to do with his favorite group without help, and told her I asked Alice for help with the gift and cake. She got upset again and said I was proving her point. She then just went off complaining how she was excluded and she didn't like the cake, and that no one had paid any attention to her and had left her out of everything. She kept interrupting me. As I tried to apologize to, I will just gave up and slept on the sofa. I know my wife and I know she can be unreasonable at times, but I'm wondering, am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy because I'm overwatering my coworkers' plans? I'm an office admin. One of my duties is to water the office plants, including coworkers' personal plants. Most people with more than 2 plants water their own, except for Tanya. Tanya has 10 plus plants. Every time one of her spider plants produces babies, she pots this and adds them to her collection, which means more trips up and down the stairs for me to refill my watering can. Then Tanya started insisting I use purified water, so I started carrying up a second smaller watering can just for her plants. I wanted to politely tell Tanya to take care of her own plants, but my manager did not permit me to at the time. Then Tanya started checking the temperature of the water I was using. I left my watering can near Tanya's desk while I tended to another duty. Tanya picked up my watering can and walked by me without saying a word. When I let her know I needed to finish watering, she insisted on taking my can anyway to change out the water. I was unable to finish my work upstairs until X returned my watering can. At least this time, she watered her own plants before giving the can back to me. I was done catering to Anna and her plants. My manager finally permitted me to tell Tanya that. I then sent her an email letting her know, as I don't think she will be news well. The next day, Tanya gave me the silent treatment. Honestly, it was a relief. Tanya wants me to acknowledge her every time she walks past my desk, which is 6 or more times a day, even when I'm on the phone. However, I'm feeling guilty about the way I handled the plant situation. So, am I the bad guy here?